I remember, how far can I go back to explain this? I remember maybe six. I remember being in elementary school. I went to PS 50 in Queens, y'all. So I'm born and raised in New York. Um, I just remember just the vibe and the people and I went to a lot of different schools. Not for no particular reason. I think it was just my mom would put me in one school, there would be an issue, she would take me out of that school, she'd put me in another school. She would take me out of that school, she'd put me in one. I went to a lot of private schools, mostly private schools, not a lot. And then I would keep having like issues. I was a regular kid. I'm a little dramatic. I was probably more dramatic as a child. I remember she took me out of a school because my glasses broke during one of the state exams and the teacher kicked me out. This was a private school and my mom was paying a lot of money in tuition and she was like, oh no, I'm paying all this money. You kicked her out the class. You're saying she cannot finish her test. I'm crying because I'm blind as a bat, y'all. Couldn't see nothing. So I was like, I'm gonna fail my test and I'm not gonna be able to go to the next grade and blah, 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 blah. And like, I guess the fear back in the day in the early 90s was you better not get left back. Okay, nothing wrong with getting left back because guess what? A lot of people should have got left back. Okay, you wasn't ready to go to the next step. Sorry. I just gotta say it, okay? I should have got left back, okay? Because you can't do the work in this level. You cannot go to the next level. You're not going to you're not gonna next year just all of a sudden be like, oh no. Okay. So they called her at work and my mom at the time had a really restricting job that didn't allow her to like leave. Like she had to do a lot to just leave work. And she came to get, they told her she had to come get me. She came and got me and was like, you're never going back there. And so then I went to private school. When I started going to private school, I mean, I had to be like, I don't even want to lie, 10, 11. That is when I started to really realize that, oh my God, I hope this doesn't always be like this. And when I mean this, I mean school is heavy for, I think, anybody. But I can say now as an adult, I'm 34 years old, from the 4th grade to the 11th grade, I had issues. Now that's a long time. That's like 7 years, 6 years, 7 years of just conflict. Every day it was something. It was exhausting. It was tiring. It was hard. I could whelp up just today thinking about it. And I'm not even kidding. I remember getting expelled from elementary school. I remember in junior high school getting jumped twice, 3 times. I remember in high school just being bullied, not knowing who I was, trying to be different forms of myself to fit in. But then it's like, no, that doesn't work. So let me go home and tomorrow I'll try something else. I just remember just yearning for just friends. I had friends, but when I would move schools, I would lose them. So it became really difficult for me. What I struggled with the most, it wasn't the boys bullying me, because I think a lot of the boys in the schools, in high school and junior high school, they were like, oh, okay, like she's pretty, she's cool. Like they took to me. Some would say little things because I would just hang out with the boys. But the girls, they were so mean. They were so mean. And I just remember, I can tell you a couple of stories, but I just remember when I got jumped the first time, and it was like 10 girls. And I was big for my age, but I wasn't that big for them to be beating on me. I remember my boyfriend at that time, junior high school boyfriend, look at that, who teased me the year before, but you know, we still, I haven't talked to him in a long time, obviously, but he's a really good person. I remember after I got jumped, he walked me home. And I'm limping, I'm bleeding. I'm in the 6th grade. And I just remember them following me, like down a long street. And I remember in my head thinking like, I'm about to get beat up, and I'm just gonna, it's gonna be fine. It's going to be over soon. And just to think that way, like, you don't go to school for that. Like, and I was scared, but I just knew it was gonna happen. There was nothing I can do. I felt like I couldn't run. I had asthma, so I couldn't run. Right? My asthma was not under control. My asthma was also a factor. So I just seen them, and it was getting closer and closer and closer. It was like a planned event. And I just remember my best friend walking the opposite way, because she would walk the opposite way. But I just remember that day also vividly. And I remember the girls. I remember each and every last one of them. I carry their faces with me every day, because I just wish to ever converse with them. I wonder if they ever thought about what they did to this little girl, you know? But yeah, I remember getting beat up. I remember walking home. I remember my mother calling the police. I remember having a black eye. I remember having a bloody nose. I remember having a busted lip. And I just remember my mom like, who did this to you? What is going on? And I was just so scared to tell her, okay? My mother who was in law enforcement for like over 20 years, being afraid to like vocalize what happened. And I just remember just not wanting to go back. Then I remember I left that school after that, and I went to another junior high school. And I just remember the girl not liking me. I swear it was because I was just a new girl. What the crazy part about it is, we looked similar. And I remember her just not liking me. I remember my stepsister being the store manager of the McDonald's, my first job. And I remember them communicating in the McDonald's heavily, like it was a lot of them, that we're gonna jump this girl. She passes by the McDonald's every day, like they knew the time I passed it. And my stepsister, I'm gonna call my sister, she heard them say this. She heard them say my name. And my name is Charisma. It's not just a common name. So as I'm walking, she sees me. This had to be God. And she came outside. She was like, Charisma, come inside. And I came inside, and lo and behold, them girls was in there, and they was going to jump me. So that would have been the second time. And I just remember being in high school. And I remember this guy. And I remember him telling me, he wanted to try to talk to me. And I remember him telling me that he had a name of somebody on his arm. And he was like, oh, that's my grandmother. She passed away. And I was like, okay. No, that's sad. Okay. And he would walk me to the bus stop. And I was in high school by this time. And the girls it was still hard for me to make friends, but I would just go to school, do what I gotta do, leave, go home. And I remember him saying it was his dead grandmother. I remember being in gym, and I remember my friend coming up to me saying, "You talking to one of them girls, man?" And I'm like, "No, I ain't talking to nobody, man. Like, I don't even think he go to school." I wasn't even thinking about it. I'm like, "No." And she's like, "Well, she said, yeah, and she said she coming for you. And I don't know, but this is the same girl that slashed the girl in her face the week before." And I kid you not, that I what's that noise? I grabbed, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm home. I grabbed my bag. I went in the locker room. I changed my clothes from gym. I left. I was in 11th grade. I left the school and I never came back. I went home. I told my mother, I said, "I'm tired of this. I can't go to school and just function. It's just something, it's giving me anxiety." And I said, I can't do this anymore. And at that time, we didn't talk about mental health, but I was struggling. I was like, I can't do this no more. I'm not doing this no more. And she was like, she looked at me, and my mom was like real, like no nonsense. And at a young age, I mean, I would speak to my mom, but I just never really like in depth. And I just was like, I can't do this no more. And she was like, okay. And I didn't go back. And every day she would be like, all right, what you gonna do today? And I'm like, I'm gonna figure it out, I promise. And she was like, you can't lay in this bed. Like, I think a week passed. And she was like, all right, I know you don't want to go to school no more. The school's calling me. You cannot just lay in this bed. Okay. Now, I was 16 years old. My birthday is in December. So I was 16. And I said, all right. So I remember I had a friend and he went to a vocational school, I believe they call it. And it was for disconnected youth. And I just contacted them. And I went up to the school. And I kid you not, I enrolled myself into a GED program. And I got my GED. And from then is when I started to realize how special I was, how special other people was. I had never met, no, I had met kind people, just like little spurts in life, besides my family. But like everybody was nice. And people, they cared. And I was like, this is where I want to be. I want to be somewhere where I don't have to look over my shoulders. Everybody's nice. Everybody talks to each other. Everybody got a problem. And it's okay to have a problem. And you could vocalize your opinion. We would have like group. And in group, oh, I loved group because you was just able to just talk. You wasn't a child. You didn't have to stay in a child's place. You could say what you want. You could say how you feel. You could say what you was doing. You could say what you did, and nobody judged you. And I think that that was very empowering. And I am going to shout out right now, JobNet. Oh my God, JobNet on Jamaica Avenue in Queens is where I obtained my GED. I remember the teachers. I remember the counselors. I just remember what they instilled in me. I still have it to this day. I love it. Loved it. Loved it. It was the breakaway from the trauma. But think about it. At that age, I did not know that I had trauma. So I got my GED and I started I had and they had internship, paid internship, which I loved too, because I loved to work. I actually emancipated myself so that I could work. And I would work 40 hours because remember, I had my GED. Oh, I had passed my GED in like, I think a year. And I graduated at the same time that my peers graduated with my friends and stuff. And I was able to just go straight into college. No issues. But when I went to college, I realized that it just wasn't for me. And I went to beauty school. Following my sister, I went to beauty school. I went to beauty school at 17 and 18. From there, oh God, I don't know when I realized that I was really uncomfortable around other women, and how weird it was just to talk to women. And then I realized I was really good in doing hair. And it was weird because I was like, okay, I need clients now. I want to do hair. I don't care whose hair I do, I want to do hair. But to do hair, I have to communicate with women. And it clicked. And I said, okay, now these women are not going to want to fight you. They're not going to dislike you because you're doing their hair. When I started going on the clinic floor and I started doing hair and I started seeing how people were happy to see me, how when they left, they told me thank you. Like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. I can never do this myself. And I said, wow, I love this. And then I went and I started doing hair in the salon in New York. And it started happening again. And I started to ball up. Like, oh my God, like these women, like, what is it? And I have my auntie. She had a salon. And she told me and my sister to come to her salon. And when we came to her salon, my life changed.